Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto, mean mugging as usual. But don't worry, we'll get him much more friendly as the episode goes on. He's fresh off LUX 21, just got back, so we'll break down that card, talk all about that. We'll also briefly mention that Combate Global's back in action tonight. They're down in Miami getting ready to kick off a 30-episode season. They got some big news as well, so we'll kind of drop that. But first, Alex, how was your trip, buddy?
It was fantastic, man. It was beautiful. Going down to Monterrey, every time I go down there, I get a new suit for the show. And so I got felt good, and it was a lot of fun, man. Monterrey's badass place.
I saw you finally picked a soccer team.
Yeah. It's funny, man. It's crazy. You either are with the Rayados, Monterrey Rayados, or you're either a Tigres fan there. And man, no matter what team you pick, you know, half of the people are gonna hate you. So
yeah, I saw most of the LUX crew was like hating on you real quick because you picked the side finally, and they're like, "But you picked the wrong side."
Yeah, of course, man. I love this though.
How'd you pick? Did you just go who had the better colors?
I asked who's doing the worst right now. You know, because who is like doing terrible right now. I was like, oh well, the Rayados are doing the worst. But they got a new coach, and there's a lot of money in soccer in Mexico, so like they got this new coach. And the Rayados have been on a three-game winning streak, and they could get into second place. And they played on Saturday, but I missed the game. I don't know who won. Can you let me know which one?
No.
If they won, then they can play.
No, I'll let you look that up on your own. We like to stick to combat sports around here. Some MMA, kickboxing, some boxing, stuff like that. Soccer. That's a little over my head. I'm a typical gringo. I like my football, baseball, basketball, and MMA and boxing. And that's how I kind of go about my life. I appreciate soccer. I love World Cup soccer when it's a little bit more important, but I don't follow all the league stuff and stuff like that. All right. Well, before we get to this show, real quick, FightersFirst.shop. Check out all the latest. Alex got his new retro gear in there. Doing the vintage 22 collection. We got a bunch of brand new stuff in there. Of course, I'm repping the Fighters First shirt. You can see it right here. A lot of cool stuff are going on. Everything's going retro for the spring and summer, so check that out. FightersFirst.shop. Go support your boy, Mr. Extremo, over there. Maybe next time he'll be rocking that down in Mexico instead of a soccer kit. But we'll see. We got to wear him down. All right, Alex. Big show last weekend. You had LUX 21, headlined by Victoria Alba, crowned as the new flyweight champion. A lot of great action with that. You had a lot of fun in the show. Like Calvo came out to some James Brown, which like shocked Francisco. Like he was like, I've never seen that. You had Alberto doing what I told you Alberto does, putting people to sleep. Amaya had a very questionable win, so plenty of stuff to break down. I know you guys were super shocked by that win. I heard your responses almost immediately for Amaya's win.
That was crazy.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and jump into the main event. Let me get your thoughts on how things went down and how we got a new flyweight champion.
All right, so we're breaking it down. In fact, I think we were kind of both leaning towards V.S. Mill winning this championship fight.
I think most people were, yeah.
Yeah, dude, but fuck, man, Alba came out swinging, dude. She came out with the
Not
plan.
Even a few seconds into it, she dropped her.
It was like we were doing the introductions. This is Francisco Rivera and Alex Soto. Bam, and it was like hit canvas, and V.S. Mill was in trouble off the bat, man. And those punches were crisp. They were fun to watch, man. And then V.S. Mill, I think honestly, man, I think it's because I don't think she's used to the lighting and to the big show, man, because she seemed like she was in mud, man. She seemed psychologically.
Didn't she also miss weight initially? Like she had to go back and like do some more weight cutting too, so she came in a little bit over?
Yeah, we did talk about that. She was over for like a pound or a pound and a half. It wasn't crazy, but she was struggling to make weight, and it showed. I think in this case, it just showed that she was kind of already having a lot of, stressful moments leading up to this fight. Because they basically told her, because they wanted to stop cutting weight right there at the 1 pound mark, off by a pound, and they wanted to stop. And Alba's camp said, no, we're not going to take the fight. This is the championship bout. You make the weight, or else we're not fighting. And she looks huge. I don't know if you saw her on the weigh-ins, but man, Via Smith looked like a beast.
Yeah, I didn't really see the weigh-ins, but I noticed she looks a little. I always got to be careful when you're talking about women, but she looks a little thicker for that weight class. Like she looks a stockier than she had in previous fights too. Like she looked like she kind of bulked up a little bit, and maybe that was like affecting her weight cut. I don't know, but I mean, if she's having trouble with this weight, she might have to go up because she didn't look like she had more weight she could probably lose. So unless she changes up her diet or something like that, but she's a thicker girl. Like
I agree. I think the only problem is that it was, there's nobody we don't have a 135 pound, division at the moment. And already making fights in women's MMA is difficult, right? Like it's not an easy task. And to find somebody at the right level, I mean, it's, you have to really build that division up. And Luke's is doing that with, they're working their way up. It just takes time to develop a division. Especially, we've developed the 115 pounds, that one's been, established. We had a big tournament with that one. And now we're working on 125 pounds. So it's coming, but I think she's just trying to find her moment. And man, Alba had different plans though, man.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the whole fight, but let's not discount what Via Smith did. Like right after she got dropped, she went to her wrestling. She hung out. She made the first round very up in the air of over who won because she basically controlled most of the rest of the round with the wrestling. There's a couple things though I noticed, and maybe I know you called out for one on the show, but in the first round I saw, and maybe it's just you have more inexperienced referees, especially the female referees down there. Alba was getting away with grabbing the fence. Like when Via Smith was going for takedowns, Alba was grabbing the fence and nobody was saying stop. And then also, you fast forward to the second round, and let's keep in mind, like Alba had the cleaner strikes all fight long. You could tell she was just a much cleaner striker. And Via Smith was trying to go back to her wrestling because that's where she felt safe. Even though Via Smith did land a couple shots like on her feet. But that illegal knee in the second round, even you called it, like it was an illegal knee, and the ref didn't say anything. Do you think that like any chance of Via Smith having went away when she got hit with that knee? Because she was not the same after that knee.
No, dude, Via Smith was out. I think I'm telling you, like I could just see it psychologically. She was
definitely gassing.
She was gassing the second the bell rang in round number one. She was. I think she's going through some mental issues in that fight. I think she had some stresses in that fight that she wasn't able to overcome and get it prepared. I think she wasn't in her best, in her best self. And Alba just came prepared. Now, there were some fence grabbing in terms of the referee. There was, when they grabbed the fence, when she was grabbing that fence, I saw that and I remember calling it, in fact. But the ref was just looking at something else. Was looking at the hand exchanges that they were having.
Just an experience,
And also when it comes to the illegal knee, I don't think it actually landed. Did it land?
It landed. It definitely landed. And it wasn't the first time either, because there was a scramble on the ground. And there was times like there was a scramble on the ground where Victoria was trying to kick her off of her. And she kicked her too, like in the head, like while they were both laying on the ground. There was a couple times that I think just, inexperience from a new ref. It's clearly the young lady that was reffing didn't have a world of experience because she wasn't always in the best positions. But the only way to get experience is by being in there doing it. Mark Goddard and Jason Herzog and all them weren't the best refs in the world when they first started either. But my question really was, like, because I guess you didn't see it as well. Maybe you haven't watched the replay yet, but the knee definitely landed. And in most cases, at the very least, Via Smith would have got a break to get her breath back, 5 minutes, whatever, for the illegal strike. Or even Alba would have got a point taken away, because I don't think it was like in the fight type illegal. But it definitely landed, and it changed the way Via Smith looked completely for the rest of that round. And it was already a tough round for her. And then by the third round, Alba was just unloading on her. And I will give Alba credit. She had very good takedown defense. She was sprawling. She was doing what she had to do. And I also question why the ref let the fight go into the fourth round, because even though both girls were getting a little tired, Via's Mill was done. She was gassed. She came out wobbling. She was not on her feet in that fourth round, and it was just a matter of time at that point. I thought the fight should have been stopped in the third round. What did you think?
I thought the same thing. You know, when a referee stops when you see a fighter as a referee and you see a fighter that's injured or that is struggling and then had a really tough round, referees usually keep an eye on that fighter. They follow that. They don't keep their eyes off them. They follow them into the corner. They observe the fighter, and they start analyzing and looking at the behavior of how.
Sorry, folks, we had a little technical difficulty. That's what happens when you do a bi-coastal show. But Alex was talking about before we lost him about the ref and the experience and some of the things that she saw and couldn't see from the different angles. What were you saying about that?
Well, I mean, we were just talking about how difficult it's been for her to be able to see that, right? The referee getting in the right place at the right time. But honestly, like, I feel like we're trying to come up with excuses here. I think Via Smil was done the second the bell rang in the first round, man. So I just think psychologically she wasn't there. She just wasn't good, and she at that time she was. I don't think she's been her best in the cage in any of her fights, because there's like this act of desperation in everything she does, when she's going for the takedown, when she was trying to push her up against the fence and trying to slow down the onslaught of the striking of Alba. So, I mean, I think there's some that just comes with experience, and I don't think that VS Mill really has that experience just yet.
I mean, give all the props to Alba. She looked fantastic. Like, we're just picking at semantics at this point. It's the things that might cost her down the road, because she has the Muay Thai background. Throwing some of those knees might be legal in some of her other fights where they're not now. And, it's some of those things she has to clean up switching over to MMA, because she only had one pro fight before this. I mean, she was 1-0. All her fights were Muay Thai and kickboxing. Like, she wasn't used to this. So, and she's never lost a fight. I mean, she's won like all her Muay Thai fights, all her, like, that's like a thing. Like, she's badass. She wins everything. So we should have probably given her a lot more credit going into this fight. Because experience, we looked at it from an MMA point of view, but her experience from a fighting point of view, I even look at the remember the Clarissa Shields and the Abigail Montez fight, and I told people, I was like, look, Clarissa has all the world experience, but Abigail has a lot of experience people don't know about either. And she knew to keep herself out of danger and wrestle her and put herself in position to where she couldn't get hurt. Guess what? Not everything is on a sheet of paper. Sometimes, people have more experience than you know. So props to Victoria Alba. She looked fantastic. She's definitely going to be somebody to deal with. Like, her striking is just so crisp. So crisp. Elsewhere on the card, somewhat of an upset, even though we know Calvo has a lot of experience, looked good against Costa. But, Emilio was the guy up and coming that we were all like, this could be the next challenger. And Calvo came out having fun to some James Brown. He was having a good time. And then he took the fight. Do you think it was a good split decision? I know a lot of people were torn on it.
Dude, you saw the judging, man. We got to work on our judging. My goodness. Man.
Welcome to MMA. Doesn't matter what side of the border you're on.
Dude, that's some crazy shit, man. I'm getting, like, it was upsetting, I think there was a fight there that shouldn't have been won, but whatever. Okay, that's how it is. That's why you don't leave it to the judges. But so I thought Jorge Calvo was gonna have a good time. I underestimated Calvo's his striking. I really did. I underestimated it this time around. And I forgot that he's got hands and he moves really, really well. But Emilio Cuellar was like throwing up some body shots towards the end of the round, almost finishing the fight, man. That was a fun fight, man. It would have been a great comeback from behind and a win for Emilio, but I think Jorge Calvo got the nod, and it was a split decision. I don't think it was a split per se.
Was that just because you think one of the judges? I mean, clearly, I think it was like 2 rounds to 1. I think Cuellar won the last round, but do you think it's because maybe like the first round was kind of like a little bit feeling out in the beginning and back and forth, and maybe one of the judges might have just said, okay, he did a little bit more?
No, no way, man. I think our judges right now we need to take some crash courses here in MMA judging to really fix up their criteria. I know it's difficult to judge. I mean, I sometimes I watch some fights and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I don't have to judge this fight, But there's some backgrounds here that need to be kind of reestablished and really just hone in some better skills for judging
I
MMA
mean,
fights.
honestly, though, like MMA judging across the map, I mean, that could be said in any side of the border. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I think so. But there's some crazy calls. I mean,
look,
sometimes
every time Sal D'Amato refs a fight in the United States, we all want to like string him up. Like,
yeah, okay, so there's sometimes when there's a fight where it's close and yes, it's a difficult fight to judge and to say, but then there's other fights where it's clear, man. It's a clear winner. And in this case, you can tell because it affects the entire fight card. When you start seeing this stuff happening again in the same fight card, then you start to get upset. And I
I
think
mean, and of
I
course,
think
you're talking about the fight right before that with Irvin Amaya over Jose Aurora,
yeah,
and most people, I don't know anybody had Amaya winning.
thank you.
And it was crazy. Like I could see maybe one round for Amaya, no way giving him two. And even then, the one round you could kind of question was more just the third round because it looked like Aurora was kind of like taking his foot off the gas. Like it didn't even, I don't even know. Like I saw it too. I didn't see how that happened. So
Yeah, I was upset about that because I thought Urban Amaya, like, I think he's one of the most top rated prospects for Luke's at 135 pounds. I see him, I see his style, I love his style, but I think he got exposed. I think Jose Rauda put him down, and we realized that Amaya doesn't have very much of a ground game, man, and he needs to, he couldn't get up. He was really slow to react to the get ups, to breaking away and making space and using the cage to get up, and wasn't able to really do very much on the ground. Rhoda had him down, pinned, controlled on the ground. So I mean, you think, oh man, I don't think Urban Amaya has enough right now against Marco Beltran, who's he's already trying to go up against. I think in the striking game, Amaya would win. But
well, Marco made sure during many social media posts and as the show was going on to show his disapproval for all of it. So
yeah, I guess we'll have to see, man. But yeah, these things are just. That was a crazy judging, man. That was just nuts.
yeah, we're having some technical difficulties with Alex, so we're going to kind of rush through some of the rest of this so we can get his thoughts real quick.
Anuar Aburto is, I think, one of the freaking. It's gonna be a superstar, guys. All right, we're calling it right here. Anuar Aburto. Remember that name? 6'6", 170 pounds, and it's just problematic for anybody at 170 pounds. Here's the thing, though. He's very young. He doesn't have a big background that he's coming from. He just has a very competitive advantage because of his length, and he's very athletic. He's really good, and very, very aggressive. Man, we saw a huge knockout win, and I've actually posted a comparison with the big fight again when Aljamain Sterling got knocked out by Moraes with a crazy knee to the face. It was just beautiful. It's a very similar type of knockout.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Aburto is coming in, and he's going to be the next big thing for Luke, and he's going to probably have a really clear path into the UFC because he's got the whole package, man.
What about Pena?
So Pena, all right, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. During that fight, my mic stopped working, and it was hell trying to get back online. So I'm like,
it's like now
going left and right. I'm like, what's happening? I'm calling the camera production crew. Like, fix my thing doesn't work. Like my mic's not working. I can't hear my partner what he's saying. I'm yelling. Trying to get these guys to go. I don't know if you guys can hear me. And
like
so
like a little bit.
Yeah, the crew comes over and they give me another mic, right? And it hooks and it works, but it's broken. So it's like dangling at the bottom, dude. It was like the entire fight, and I'm trying to, stay out political in the fight, but to be honest, towards the third round, when I finally get my camera or my mic to work, I'm looking at Francisco, and he's, I'm going off of his narration and what he's saying and what he's making out.
Once again, we're back with Alex Soto. Unfortunately, right now we're really struggling. It's like the Pena fight all over again. We're losing our guy. You were saying the whole part about Pena and the mic, and go ahead and tell us all what happened during the mic thing.
Yeah, so we're sitting there, and by the time the crew finally gave me a working mic in the third round, I'm finally putting it on. And this is, mind you, this is one of the fights that I'm really excited about watching, man.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it.
Yeah, every time the fight comes up, it creeps up to the next, as we keep moving up in the fight card, each fight becomes more interesting, And so here we are, we're starting it. I'm like, yeah, we've been waiting for this Pena fight. And then bam, dude. So this whole thing, dude, I basically missed the whole fight. And I'm just going off of like bits. I'm trying to keep the show, man. I'm trying to keep the show running. I'm trying to keep the show interesting. And Francisco, I'm going off of Francisco Rivera's, viewpoints and what he's seen in the fight. And we're kind of like, and next thing I know, I'm kind of agreeing that the fight was kind of crap, and I'm agreeing that the fight didn't go really good. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude, I don't remember this fight. And I don't recall like that fight being so terrible. But, it is what it was.
I don't think it was terrible at all. I don't think it was terrible at all. I think the beginning of it was terrible. The first round was kind of like Pena really couldn't strike with Morales. Morales was throwing a lot of kicks. Both guys were kind of feeling each other out. And it might not have been your usual bloodbath, Cholo Pena fight. But what it was Pena showcasing for 2 rounds his grappling ability. He basically controlled him on the ground, and there was nothing Morales could do. Like, that was it. Like, Pena basically took him down the second round, dominated him. I'd almost say one of those rounds, like the second round might even have been a 10-8. And then the third round, he just did more of it, and he just proved that he could control him on the fight, did what he had to do to get the win. I think, if anything, it was a maturity from Pena to realize, hey, I don't have to, like, be in a bloodbath every time. Like, I can use my other skills that we talked about. He was sneaky good grappling, and he showed it.
Yeah, he did. Well, from what I remember, it's me, just the mic, man. So fortunately, I got to miss that fight, really, and just kind of depended on my partner's ability to kind of call that fight, man. But this fight card, LUX 21, was one of my favorite fight cards because it was just back and forth, crazy comebacks. We had Luis Gallegos versus Jorge Manzano. I don't know if you guys caught that fight.
Yeah.
I believe that might have been on the main event or the opening on the UFC Fight Pass. But that was a crazy fight with Luis Gallegos like winning the fight, and he was a fan favorite. The crowds were going crazy, and then Jorge Manzano gets one opportunity on the ground and gets a crazy rear naked choke finish, dude. It was fun, man. That was a fun and a blast to watch.
And we know from watching Manzano and Pena, Manzano doesn't quit even when he's outclassed. Like, he keeps coming. So, like, it just gave him one moment. That's all he needed. He's a vet. He's been around. He's been through wars. So, he stayed calm, got his moment, rear naked choke, and it was all over.
Yeah, that's why I love the sport, man. Moments like that, guys never quitting, guys like not giving up. And then also the mental aspect of the game. We saw that with Yasmil. We mentioned it earlier, how she was really struggling mentally, man. And I look forward to when she's able to conquer those demons of hers and have a great performance in her next fight.
I mean, I'll give her credit though. She had no quit. She kept coming forward. She was just outclassed. I think from the get-go, like from the knockdown right in the beginning, she was just outclassed. There's some other news I want to get your thoughts on real quick before I let you get out of here. Of course, tonight, Combate Global's back in action for their season. I think they're kicking off with about 30 shows this year. They're down in Miami. They're doing a big Mexico versus USA type thing. You got Daniel Sanchez, which is, he's a Sambo champion, 155-pound lightweight, going up against Angel Salsa King Alvarez, who's undefeated. They're going to be doing like a 6-fight card with that. And then also they just signed a deal with Eurosport. So they're going to actually be broadcast now in Spain, which is pretty cool from like a Hispanic point of view, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. In fact, when you told me that this was happening, I actually started looking into the platforms. I'm like, I think this might be an excellent fit as well for LUX Fight League and adding on to that Spanish thing. But I think now that Combate, which once was America's, right, dealing with Latin America, the United States, Chicanos, hitting that Latino flavor.
Yeah.
Now they're global. Combate Global, where they're doing also having Ireland fight. We have France Malambo won that tournament, 135 pounds, and then now they're going to Spain. I think what they're doing is fantastic. I think their model and the way they've been slowly, incrementally adding more viewership to to the MMA market share. I think it's fantastic. And
they're also still heavily representative of the Hispanic market. Like all their fighters are pretty much of Latin descent. So they still heavily represented, but they're created by co-creator Campbell McLaurin, who had a lot to do with the UFC getting started.
Right.
So he's always had bigger plans and aspirations. So this is a great way to reach not just Hispanic markets in like Central America, Mexico, South America. Now he's reaching out across the globe. So definitely a way to showcase more Hispanic fighters, more Latin fighters. So I think it's a great thing. I think, obviously more promotions for fighters to fight in is a great thing. We see it in America with UFC, Bellator, PFL, and so on. You see the way LUX Fight League is growing in Mexico. Obviously, you're a little biased in that, but they are growing like huge. Like you see more and more market share for their shows.
I mean, I'm not that I'm more biased. It's just that I'm
you should be. They sign your checks.
Right? yeah. But at the same time, I'm a huge fan of the sport. So a lot of my LUX fighters have fought for Combate and are still fighting for Combate.
Yeah.
Miguel Villegas is actually coming up on the next fight card. Who's a big, promising, prospect on LUX Fight League's undercard, on those cards. So they go back and forth, and it's really, another place for fighters to get more fights, man. During the pandemic, LUX Fight League, the UFC, and several other promotions worldwide were had to deal with a lot of difficulties to put in these fights and make these fights happen. It's so limited with the availability of promotions to go fight in as a fighter. It would have sucked to start your career around this time. Or if you're about to really break out, the last 2 years have been really difficult for you to get fights.
Yeah, and we actually even profiled one fighter too. We talked about Yasmin. You're a guy, like she's one of the top female fighters in the world. Like so we're looking forward to her this season in Combate too. There's just, like I said, more places for people to showcase their talent, especially in the Hispanic market. They've crossed over to Miami, so they're getting the American share as well, television deals and all that stuff. So it's just good for everybody. More for the fighters, more money for the fighters. So, it's a win.
Ultimately, yeah, that's what I'm looking for,
All right, Alex, I appreciate you toughing this episode out. Of course, check out FightersFirst.shop. Get the Extremo collection. Support your boy, Mr. Soto, over there. Show him some love. We got the new retro Mike Tyson style shirt for him. You'll see it below on the graphic as well. But check out that FightersFirst.shop. We got a lot of cool vintage stuff coming out throughout the spring and summer. Support the show. Support Alex. Alex, any final words before we get out of here?
No, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching.
All right. For Extremo Alex Soto, I'm Mike Ginn. This is Crossing Borders. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we can see Alex next week. But for Alex and myself, we're out.